Hey everybody, Pete A. Turner, executive producer and host of your Break It Down show. Hey, I wanted to do today's live intro. The show's coming out a little late today because we're trying to fully switch over to this live setting. So we had Jerremy Newsome on, actually right before the COVID thing really got nuts, like right as everything was breaking and the market was still alive and well, and then it crashes shortly after. But we had some technical difficulties with that recording. And so what I thought I would do was have him come back on now, because one of the things that Jerremy does, he talks about investments, and that seems like a good thing. But he's also a good thing to cover right now. And he's also such a positive energy guy, looking at the world in a very different way. And that's something that we can all use a little more of right now as we try to sort out all this COVID stuff and dealing with crisis and being at the end of our rope, either financially, socially, culturally, politically, whatever, all those ropes we got to hang on to. And I thought it might be helpful to have someone like Jerremy come on and spread a little bit of his love. So first things first, Jerremy spelled with two R's, Jerremy, Jerremy Newsome. And you can go to jerremynewsome.com and find everything out about him. And he's all over the place. So you likely already know who he is. And if not, you'll get why I'm saying you likely already know who he is. Also, he's written a book called Money Grows on Trees, How to Reshape Your Thoughts, Beliefs, and Ideals About Money and Become Truly Wealthy. So getting beyond just the dollars and cents of this, but having a mindset to really look at abundance and get to where you go. And he talks about how he got the title for the book and how he worked through these problems. And his story is just incredible. And one of the things I wanted to add in also as we look at who Jerremy is he starts a lot of this stuff as a knucklehead young kid and figures it out. So if you are feeling in despair or like financially there's no way you'll ever get out of this young teenage kid started doing it and figuring it out. So it is possible. And in a fairly short amount of time in terms of lifetime scale, you can actually get some of these things done. Just encouraging a positive mindset as we go through this time. That's the main thing. Hey, if you love what we do, you can always support us. You can buy shirts at breakitdownshow.com, subscribing, tweeting, commenting, and so many of you are already doing this, and I love it. I love that you guys are doing it and buying the books. Man, oh man, it's so fantastic to see people participating. So continue to do that. And if you are on the fence, please do that and recommend this show to your friends. And when someone posts a story about something like with Joshua Phillip and like, hey, here's Joshua's documentary, link in the show that we did with Joshua Phillip because it's good and it helps him, helps us. So those are some of the things you can do to help support the show. And of course, as always, I'm going to say these words. And we're coming up on the 3-minute mark of this intro. So save the brave, savethebrave.org. Go there, help us help people with PTSD. Hit the donate tab, put a small amount of money in each month, and we'll get it. Here comes Jerremy Newsome.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland. This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerremy Alexander Newsome, and you are listening to the Break It Down show.
Yeah, so we had him on about a month ago, and the world has totally changed since that time. The market crashed. COVID came. COVID is kind of leaving now. We've all been at home for a month. And so I thought it'd be a good time to have Jerremy and I come on and talk together, maybe give us some hope and some positivity about the future. By the way, Jerremy has a book, Jerremy Alexander Newsome, and the book is called Money Grows on Trees, How to Reshape Your Thoughts, Beliefs, and Ideals About Money and Becoming Truly Wealthy. That's a long title, brother.
Yeah, it is. It's beastly, but this is a great time for it, man, because like you mentioned, people are home, lives are changing, works are changing, people's beliefs and jobs and their normal routine, it's all changing. And so this is a really, really monumental occasion, not only in recent history, but just in U.S. and world history.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we're looking at some, I think, indelible changes. We don't know what those indelible changes are yet, but we know that we can work from home from a lot of different places. A lot of companies that were holding on to people in their cubicles are now looking at their footprint going, maybe we can figure this out. Things are changing, and some for the worse, but some for the better too. What are your thoughts on some of the changes that we might see a couple of years from now that come from this moment?
You kind of hit the nail on the head, man, when you're talking about companies and flex time and work from home. I mean, this is something that kind of catapulted a lot of the older, stagnant companies into a, you know what, this needs to happen now type of mentality. Where I was in New York City, like right when all this was happening, early March. And I had some friends who work at Goldman and a few other of the investment banking firms down on Wall Street. And man, they were sending everyone home. So they were getting computers, they were getting, the employees were getting a workstation, they were getting microphones, they were getting Logitech, these things that are recording me right now. So they're sending all these items to their employees, and they're working from home, and they're still working from home right now. And that's amazing. I mean, Goldman Sachs, like 5 years ago, would never have dreamed of their entire workforce. Literally, their whole New York offices, everyone's working from home. That's a magnificent thing. But in my opinion, I always feel that that's better because it's more resourceful for the vast majority of employees, because nobody wants to go to an office and work, or at least very few people do, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's people that like that. That's their norm. They want to separate work life and home life. And if you're new to working from home, you certainly are going to struggle with staying on task. You have to sort out your version of working from home. But just the free hour you get back in your day, that you can do something else with, or the fact that you can be on the phone and literally doing right now, you're walking on a treadmill, you're getting a little bit of exercise, These are the kind of things that we're going to get back from the COVID epidemic.
I agree. And I love that we're going to have a lot of interesting changes as it relates to the workplace, working in the workplace, connectivity. I've already ran across an ad on Instagram from, I forget the gentleman's name, but he was more or less offering his course on how to do proper business meeting via FaceTime, and Zoom and Skype. And so you have this guy who probably went into offices and kind of helped corporations and bosses and employees and teams and management work together like a cohesive meeting team. But now, since the meeting place is more or less changed, at least for present moment, he's doing it all online and teaching people how to communicate, because there is like a certain etiquette that a lot of people don't understand when you are doing meetings like you and I are right now. Like, we're virtually meeting, but you and I, like, we've done these so many times that we know that we should have a good microphone. You should have a good webcam. You should have a good audio connection. You should have headphones. But a lot of people don't know these things. So it's going to be wild, man, to see how it all pans out.
You also, even though you also should put down your device that you're broadcasting with or from and go to the bathroom without it. Because I have several times been pulled into someone's bathroom session, and it's like, I'm totally here still.
Still here. Yeah.
Still here.
I 100% agree, man. It's like, make sure you mute, make sure you get that etiquette down. Like, you walk away, you leave everything, you go. So yeah, I think those are small pieces, but you're going to see a lot of changes in that. And also the Airbnb industry is going to get massively impacted. The short-term rental industry is going to be a little bit topsy-turvy, because you're now going to have commercial units that aren't going to be needed anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of space that's going to open up for both commercial units, residential units. A lot more building structures are going to change. WeWork is going to change a lot. I mean, there's going to be some very, very interesting directional shifts that are going to happen in the world environment, mostly because we got thrust into this. And so now that it's happening, it's like, okay, we're definitely going to have to make some changes here.
Yeah, we were inching that way, but there were things like leases, and it's just easier to roll the lease over, and gosh, moving is so hard. But now that we've sort of been compelled, and there's literally no one on the floors of all these buildings are going to be used for something else. And hopefully it's something positive and good. And boy, it's an amazing thing. Let's talk a little bit about your path to get to the point where you're at now, because you retired. I'm doing quoting fingers, retired, because you're still doing stuff. But
yeah, definitely.
You retired early. You worked in a cubicle farm place at an insurance company. We talked a lot about, and you've talked a lot about this in the past, but like your the metric as nationwide was handle time, and you're like, but I leave satisfied customers. What's more important? And that affect that I always believe is more important than effect.
Mm.
Talk a little bit about your path to getting to where you started to trade, and then we'll get caught up from there.
Totally, man. And I appreciate you remembering that. So thank you. But yeah, pretty much long story short, I started Nationwide at the age of 18. That's how old you have to be to work there. And I started in the call center. And I've always kind of been the person that for a long period of my time believed in just hard work, good work. And, it's all about who knows you. And you can kind of move up the ladder at some point. And so that's kind of how I lived for the first 6 years of that corporate life when I worked at Nationwide. And I was dealing with on the phone customers in a call center, the whole, if you get in an accident and you call your number on your insurance card, I was the guy that picked up. So you would talk to me, and I did really well. I actually liked the job. It was hard. It was a stressful job, but I found ways to make it better. And that's something that I think anyone can do in any profession is find small ways to make it better, small ways to make it entertaining, that exciting, just a little bit fresh, a little bit different. As an example, I have to read the VIN numbers a lot on cars. And so instead of saying like M as in Michael, B as in boy, C as in Bob, or B as in Bob, C as in cat, A as in apple, I would always kind of flip it and just try to have a lot of fun with it. So I'd say C as in cardiovascular. Yeah. P is in pterodactyl. that was always a good one. And you just have to make fun, have a good time. A is an avocado, right? Rather than saying apple, I come up with a bunch of A names. So I had like a giant list of words that you could say and interchange. Right. So that made it a little bit more fun. But what happened is I started trading through my 401k at about the age of 19 and a half, 20. And this was right about the time silver was really making some strong moves. And I was trading through my 401k. I learned how to do what's called a self-directed 401k, which because of the CARE Act, a lot of companies are actually being able to do this now. A lot of individuals, Pete, where you can actually move and change and pull out of your 401k or just alter it a lot without any tax penalties.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge benefit.
Dude, this is a massive benefit. So a lot of people who are staying at home, who need extra money for cash or bills or whatever, they can fluctuate. I'm not saying you should specifically. This is not advice. This is just me saying that there are opportunities right now.
Capability.
There's capabilities if you're investing in it and investigating that you can start figuring out ways to become a little bit more liquid. That's what I did. I figured out ways to become more liquid in a 401k, and it's legal. It's very tax friendly. And I started trading through my 401k, buying shares of silver, and I bought ticker symbol AG, which is First Majestic Silver, still around today. I bought, let's say I had like $9,000 in the 401k at the time. First Majestic Silver was trading around $9. So I was like, yeah, I'll just buy 1,000 shares. Sounds good. And then it popped and ran up to 15, over the course of a few weeks. And man, that 4, 5, 6 grand of profit over that 2-3 month period, that was more than I made at work. Because at the time I'm getting paid whatever, $3,000 a month or something. And man, that was life altering because no one ever told me that you actually could make more money trading or investing than you could at work. That had just never, ever come and caught into my conscious. So once that happened, man, I started going down the path of researching and studying and just slowly working my way to all that job.
Yeah, that it's funny when you say that because as an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old kid working at an insurance company, you're making somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 a day. That's what you're going to do. So yeah, if you have a little bit of money saved up, it's not hard to find a lot of ways to make $100 a day. They may not be as comfortable or have as much of a safety net as working at an insurance company, but there are a lot of ways to make $100 a day.
Yeah. And I just did not even think about like that. That just wasn't in my consciousness, man. Like not working for money didn't make any sense. Like that was, I would exchange my time for money.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense. Like, why would you not do that? There's no other way. And so what I did instead was exchange knowledge and money for more money. So there was very, very little time actually invested in it. Man, that was just such a cool paradigm shift.
That's interesting. Yeah. And that concept, and we've talked about this, and I definitely want to get into the exchange of value, and understanding what you're worth, but also understanding the value that you create for someone else so that you can actually get more return on your value that you create, and also create more value for the people that you interact with.
Right. It's a good way to approach life, because one question that I get very frequently that I hear, people will reach out to me and they'll say, how do I make more money? Well, that's a great question, but it's a question that everyone asks. And it's a very limited question, because if I give you $1, you have more money, we're good to go. So that's not the greatest question, because it doesn't really lead you to an inspiring answer. If you ask a question instead, how do I add more value every week to myself or to my company or to my business? That's just an entirely different question. It's just going to give you different answers. And there's so many ways right now, man, that people can start adding value, because again, they might be working from home. There's going to be a lot of other employees that might be stressed out, or you're scared or worried or frustrated. Your boss might have certain expectations. Your boss, believe it or not, they're also a human, right? So they're going to have their own fears and their own doubts and their own disbeliefs. So you helping them, you adding value, you contributing, helping them grow, helping them understand something they might be missing out on. That's going to be a very massive metric right now in the workplace.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about those 401ks and everybody looking at their stock portfolios. Obviously, it's terrifying when the market sheds 10,000 points in like days. And then there's 6 million jobless claims in a day. I mean, that's terrifying.
Terrifying.
But it's also mindset, right? Like if you look at that as opportunity, like unless you're retiring today, you've got a huge opportunity to buy stock at a fraction of the price, right?
Yes. And you have to remember that everyone is going to have that natural fear, because you don't know if it's the bottom. So looking back, let's say, I don't know, man, 3 months ago, people would have said, oh man, I would have given anything to buy this stock at the 2008 low. Well, guess what, bro? A lot of stocks are lower than your 2008 lows, like Delta, American Airlines, Royal Caribbean, Carnival Cruise Line, Spirit Airlines. Like I can go down the list. Like there are a lot of companies that are legitimately lower than their 2008 lows. Yeah. And I'm not specifically saying that you should take all of your money and buy any individual company. But what I am saying is there are companies out there right now that are trading at an extreme discount. And you should spend some time, even if it's an hour, researching it. And if you're saying to yourself, I don't know how to research a stock company, do what I did when I first bought First Majestic Silver. Type in, what are some good cruise ship stocks to buy?
Yeah.
And just read 5 or 6 articles and just kind of form an opinion. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Read up on it and let it start assimilating into your brain so you have an idea of what you should do and why.
The other thing about this kind of a strategy is, let's say you buy Princess Cruise Lines and, they're teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, right? And you're risking this money, but you're also buying the stock at a price that's like clearance sale prices. And so if it goes down a little more, you buy a little more and you strengthen your position on it, because you're buying it on the belief that they're going to make it out and recover. There's a lot of brands that are even more critical to their marketplace, where this really is a temporary thing. And I think, you're talking about AG, and how clever are they to have the elemental symbol AG for their thing. That's clever, because that's so.
Yes, it is.
Here's the thing about the economy, and Pete is not an economist nor a prognosticator, but here's one thing we love in the modern world: shit that you have to mine. Like we have cars that have copper and cadmium and silver and on and on and on. All these things you have to pull out of the ground. If you invest in these kind of things, the market looks very good for these companies. They're investing in more things. And actually, one of the things President Trump has done is he's pulled back some of the regulations. So especially right now, companies are investing in this because they think they can pull more money out of the earth. So there's a lot of opportunity in mining.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because Freeport McMoran, ticker symbol FCX, this is one that is at 2008, 2009 lows. It's also at some 2016 lows, $7.62 a share. They've been around forever. And what company do you use to mine things with? Well, a lot of companies, a lot of people, a lot of industries use Caterpillar. And Caterpillar was at 90 a share like a month ago, and it went up to 125. I mean, we're talking, that's an insane move. So you don't have to buy all of your money at one time on some of these companies or positions.
Right.
But what you're right about, Pete, is we have to, everyone who's listening to your show right now, and if you are listening, congratulations, because you're smart. But what you should do is just spend an hour a week. Sit down with your spouse or a friend or an investor or someone that you like or someone that you're smarter than or someone you're smarter than you or someone on YouTube, and just start trying to figure out what would be some good industries or some good companies that are going to do well. And it's not going to be super, super obvious. So for example, Carnival Cruise Lines, Royal Caribbean, everyone knows they're going to go higher, which means they're going to go a little bit lower first. Okay. And you also have to understand, when you're trying to catch a bottom, you're never going to be the person that gets the exact bottom ever. You're never going to get the exact low ever. So for me, what I do and what I like to instruct a lot of my traders to do is just buy small size every week. So Carnival Cruise Lines, you could buy 10 shares right now. It's going to cost you, like hundreds of dollars, 10 shares.
Right.
Let me just pull it up really quick. I'll do the math. It's $12.28. Okay, so it costs you $130 to buy 10 shares of Carnival. That's less than a cruise ticket. So then a week from now, you buy another 10 shares. And then a week from now, you buy another 10 shares. And you're going to kind of slowly start averaging in. But once you get 100 shares, your total cost basis might be $1,300.
Right.
It's like, is it possible that Carnival Cruise Lines could get back up to 40? And a lot of people are like, well, no way. And I would say it was at 40 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So it is possible. And then you could turn $1,300 investment into $4,000 investment. And a lot of people are going, well, that's not life-changing money. It's like, no, but you got to start somewhere, because once you hit that and you do well with that particular investment, your brain's going to go, let's do that again. I'm going to tune into Pete again. I'm going to listen to his podcast. I'm going to listen to his show. I'm going to ask Jerremy to come back on. We're going to do some more investigation. People are going to start caring more. And once you start caring more, that's where your world will start to change.
The other thing is the combined effort of a variety of revenue streams. We talked before about Acorn and Robinhood.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one?
Stash.
Stash. And then I threw at you Bumped.
Yep. Bump's such a good one.
Bump is a monster. So I'll throw Bump out first, and then you can talk about the other ones. But here's what Bump does. Whatever brands you consume, it's like a loyalty program, but with fractional shares. So you're going to go to Verizon already anyhow. You're going to buy a new phone every other year. All of these things, when you do it, the Bumped then gives you a fractional share of Verizon stock. I don't eat much fast food, but when I do go, I'll go to McDonald's. I'll get a little, 2% of a share. And then, so all of these day-to-day things, this costs me no money, by the way. I'm just spending my regular, when I go to Chevron, I'm going to get a percentage of that cost back in Chevron stock. I'm not spending any extra money. Nothing's being rounded up. It's just for my participation. I get a little bit of Chevron stock. So, your day-to-day life, you spend thousands of dollars a year trying to stay alive, whether it's, eating at Outback Steakhouse, which is one of the brands, Albertsons, which is a grocery store. All these things. They even have wine as a selection, and as Bumped grows, it adds more things.
Yep.
So your day-to-day consumption nets you fractional shares for being loyal to the brands that you already are using, and it's incredible. And then also, by the way, those fractional shares, they go up over time, and so that $8 of stock over 10 years becomes doubled. And you put that into 15 different companies, you're doing nothing. You're not even spending an hour a week. You're just out doing your normal things. And
what that does, Pete, and what people don't realize is it pulls you into a mindset of trying to figure out how to do it more and more efficiently, more effectively, and bigger. That's simply because you're going to start caring more. Oh, all of a sudden you're checking your portfolio.
Yeah.
Or you know what the heck a portfolio is, or you're beginning to care. Exactly. Now you have one. Like, you're beginning to be interested. You're beginning to be conscious of how this whole process works. And that's just how you can take the small steps to slowly grow your value, because you'll start asking different questions. And as you start asking different questions, your whole life will start changing.
Well, and I'd also submit that you think about retirement as your investment portfolio, and this is yes, you're taking care of retirement, but now you're also adding in this other element where you're investing in yourself for maybe an earlier retirement or some other aspect. Like this is not just like that's retirement money, I put it away and forget it. Like this is another slice of money that has the potential of do even bigger things because you can treat those investments a little more aggressively.
Yeah. Totally. And the retirement aspect, like earlier when you did the air quotes, retirement for most people is generally still just doing something that you prefer to do on your time frame, on your dime, but you're spending money, but you have more free time. So when you retire, you're generally most of your listeners aren't going to just sit on their chair and that's it. That's all they're going to do. They're going to try to do something. Doesn't matter if they're going to start playing poker or they're going to start day trading or they're going to start playing golf more or working out a little bit, taking walks during the day. You're going to start just getting some of your time back, but you've probably done the math that if you have $1 million in your retirement account and it costs you on average $30,000 to live every year, and you pull off that $30,000 every year, you've already done the math to figure out how long you can retire before all of your money's gone. But if you get a fluctuation like this in the market where you have $1 million and you retire and it's down 30%, you don't have $1 million anymore. And then if you pull off of that 700,000, it whittles down much quicker, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be that. There doesn't have to be that mentality of this is a scarcity thing, that money is going to stop. This is all I have. You do have the ability, opportunity, and privilege to go and get on the internet and start studying other ways to generate income because you have to. It doesn't matter if it's 200 extra bucks a month. Obviously, the more the merrier, but it doesn't have to be anything that's insanely difficult to achieve.
One of the things that's funny about this is you say day trading, people lose their minds and go, oh my God, high risk, can't do that. No way I can ever figure it out. You were a kid when you were doing this stuff.
Man, I got my 16-year-old nephew out there who is day trading right now. Like it's not an insanely hard thing to do. And you're right, man. It's a term that people just get so mortified by because let's be honest. How many day traders have you met in person that have made money? Yeah. Like when you meet someone at a party, they're always like, "Oh, I got murdered," or "Oh man, the stock market just crushed me in the face." But you're going to meet like, "Oh, what do you do?" "I'm an accountant." "Okay, well, you make money." "What do you do?" "I'm a fireman." "Okay, cool, you get paid." So we have these jobs, but day trading is just not a job. If I say that I'm a professional baseball player, everyone's like, "Oh, wow, you get paid millions. That's awesome."
Yeah.
But if I say I'm a professional day trader, the exact same amount of time goes into me studying and practicing and becoming a better trader as someone will professional baseball. I'm just not good at baseball.
Right.
Yeah. But it's the same steps. Like it's just a shorter window and it's less physical work. If I'm going to play baseball professionally, there's a lot of things that I have to do to my body, my mind, and my skills and my muscles to get that skill set down. But in day trading, you can be a 55-year-old woman or man with $100,000 of liquid capital and day trade. But you can do so with mathematical risk percentages that you know exactly how much you're going to lose. And you can lose $40 a day to potentially make, like you mentioned earlier, $100 a day. Like that is absolutely achievable. But a lot of people just don't know that.
Huh. Yeah, sounds terrifying. If you take a job that's more sexy and fun, it's still a job. As you said earlier, professional poker player. That ain't easy work.
No, man, it's a grind. I've done it. It's a grind.
Yeah, you could be a middle of the road, ham and egger who pays all their bills with poker. And the entry point to that is, I'll say, relatively low, you can accomplish that. You can learn your way to being like, hey, I play professional poker, but you will spend a lot of time in the casino or online gambling there. And, it's just the same thing, same kind of thing. So let's go back real quick and talk about Stash and Acorn and Robinhood, just to cover that.
Yeah, totally. So Robinhood is a free app that has become a little bit less sexy because now almost every brokerage firm gives you free commissions. So dude, Like, this is the greatest time on planet Earth to learn how to trade the markets actively, because there's no commission. Dude, 2 years ago, it would have cost the normal average Joe $30 to go inside and out, like to buy a stock and then sell a stock the exact same day. It could have cost $30, and then it started going down to 12, then 10, then 15, and then 11, and then 9, and then now it's 0. So you can take a trade and make $150, $300, $1,000, $15,000, whatever your risk size is. You can make good money and pay almost nothing in commissions. Like, that is bananas. So that's one of the things that Robinhood did. When they came out on the scene, they offered free commissions, and it shook up the whole world. Literally, it changed the whole game. So that's what Robinhood is. It's like I call them a discount broker. They're actually very, very good for a beginner trader. If you're brand new to kind of like active trading and like getting involved into the stock market, it's a good app for that. Stash allows you to invest small amounts of money into individual companies that you choose, and it rounds up, your spending. So if you spend $5.19, right, boom, you get 81 cents into Stash. It rounds up to $6 for you. And that 81 cents can be, you buy a share, a fractional share of Walmart, but you get to choose what that stock is. You get to choose that company. And then Acorns rounds up your money and just takes it and collectively puts it into like a mutual fund or an index fund. So there are ways that you can use your spending on your phone, Apple Pay, credit card, or debit card, link it up, and it just automatically rounds up a little bit so that you don't necessarily feel the sting or think you're doing investing. But man, it can add up quick. Like, I did Acorns for, I think, 2 months a while ago. I think $375 was in there. And I just left it alone for a year.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here. And if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
I think $375 was in there. And I just left it alone for a year.
Yeah.
And a year and a half later, it was like $490. Man, that's pretty crazy. Like, that's not bad.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can, you've talked about a couple of ways you can buy a mutual fund that just does all that for you, or you can pick a company that you like. You can support your green initiative and say, all this money is going to go towards this. It's interesting. Talk a little bit about, so right before the market crashed, Tesla was trading in the high $900 range.
Yeah.
And people were glad to buy it. It was going up, and it always values for probably $600 below that, $300 something a share. So there's this perception that it's overvalued and not worth it. But there's also this perception that I'm taking the law. I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to get in at $1,000 a share because they're building factories in China. They're how many car companies are building factories and launching new cars? That's just not very common right now.
No. And there's so many fascinating aspects on Tesla, but one thing that we have to do is just remember that when everything is super cool and super sexy and super fun and everyone's talking about it, you've missed the boat. Yeah. And when Tesla's at 900 and some change, I'm selling, I'm bearish, I'm no longer bullish for that time frame. And I'm absolutely expecting a pullback because no stock, no currency, no crypto, nothing has that type of a run without some type of pullback. I mean, Tesla was up 345% in a month, something astronomical. And then it was up 600% over 4 months. I mean, it was it was bananas. And the other thing too is when Tesla was trading at $900 a share, that meant realistically that they'd have to sell a car for $1 million to equate their market cap. Yeah. And so they're not selling cars for $1 million. So it's like, it needs to have a little bit of a pullback. So it's one of those things where it's good to study. It's good to be involved. If you follow anyone on YouTube, you could usually ask them in the comments, hey, can you review Tesla? For example, I look at reviews all the time. I'll be doing one in like an hour and a half where I will go through my YouTube comments and people say, hey, can you look at Carnival and Tesla and Roku? And I'll just kind of I'll go, sure. So it's worth your time to follow certain people on YouTube and watch what their analysis is, listen to them, and just start becoming more informed about your purchases because, yeah, man, it matters. And Tesla at 900 was ridiculous. Not that it can't go higher, but that pullback just needed to happen because it went from 900 and some change, 972 or whatever, to 380 in like a month.
Yeah. Buy now, by the way, if you have $380. I got very lucky and had the smarts to buy Tesla stock when it was well below $50.
Nice.
And it's just the backbone of my daughter's retirement portfolio. And, it's some of those things where, hey, it's at 900. I'm just not even going to bother messing with it. We're in it for the long haul. She can go check in 40 years and see how much is there. And then we use other aspects of her money to do more short-term trades, Yeah,
I think that's incredible, man. It's really good that you did that. And that's so my question to you is why'd you pick Tesla back then at 50?
Because I knew electric cars weren't going away. I just had a sense of it. I bought Amazon stock before they even bought pet food companies, in the mid 90s. And, look, I'm way too broke for a guy that got a couple of really massive stocks, right? But it felt like the same kind of thing where I'm like, everybody's saying that they don't have secret sauce. And yet here they seem to have secret sauce all over them. So I'm going to buy. And because one of my friends said, he said, I'm going to save my money when we go to Iraq and I'm going to come back and buy a Tesla so I never have to buy gas again. And I'm like, why don't you just buy Tesla stock and then buy gas with your dividends,
Yeah.
And then so I followed my own advice, really, is what happened,
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
What's interesting, man, is like a lot of people will come out to me and they'll say things like, hey, Jeremy, what's the next Amazon or Apple or Microsoft or Tesla or whatever? I'm like, guys, they happen all the time.
Yeah.
Every year. So here's a cool statistic. Every year, I think there's 69 companies on average that double from a certain level to, they double in value.
Yeah.
And that's just every year.
Yeah.
So do they do more than double? And the answer is generally they do. A lot of the companies that people are going to be, that should be interested in right now are going to be software as a service companies that help people who stay at home and work. So let's go down some lists. Zoom, Netflix, not really a software as a service, but they're a service. So Zoom, Netflix, Shopify, all these entrepreneurs coming up with new programs, new products, new companies. You have, let's see, Wix. Wix is amazing. Wix. GoDaddy. I mean, that's digital real estate.
Yeah.
So GoDaddy has phenomenal recurring revenue. They have great customer service. They're not that expensive. Really, really good products. I love those names. And then plus you have Team, ticker symbol TEAM, Workday, WDAY. Workday is phenomenally interesting because they're like a human resource company for companies without being a human resource company in a sense that like you don't have to hire an HR department anymore. You can just go out and export everything to Workday. And then you have companies like HubSpot, Salesforce. I mean, these companies are going to grow massive, man, because stay at home, work from home, that type of infrastructure, they need to have companies like Fastly, ticker symbol FAST, which it's kind of like it sounds. They make websites faster. So people reach out to them all the time saying, hey, optimize the speed of my website. And they get tons and tons of customers. So man, there's a lot. Software as a service is going to be a really big cloud infrastructuring focused right now. DocuSign, oh my gosh, such an that's a sleeper, man. DocuSign's going bananas because all of the real estate agents and lawyers and attorneys and HR departments and people were using DocuSign to get all these documents signed back and forth because no one's in the office anymore.
Right.
So
and they weren't doing poorly before. They had a office space in downtown San Francisco, Soma, and so now they really have broken through because why are you signing documents with the pen anymore? Like there's no need to do it anymore.
Man, I haven't done this in like so long. I miss it. But you're right. I mean, DocuSign, these are some companies that like, if you're thinking, oh, I missed the boat, if you ever think you missed the boat, just buy a very small size just to track it. Two shares. Okay. Something insanely tiny just to track it, just so it's on your radar. And then when it has a little bit of a pullback, a nice little correction, buy 10, buy 20, buy 100, right? DocuSign went from 92 all the way back to 68 in like the course of a week. That was the biggest pullback that it had. That was a 27% pullback, but it was a very, very basic, very calm, very collected pullback from where it was previously. And it was just a really good buying opportunity. Kimberly-Clark, has been a good one. You can still go over the big blue chip names like Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Kimberly-Clark, General Mills, right? All the people buying cereal these days. Walmart's crushing it, Costco. So the answer is there's opportunities. We just have to take advantage of them. You can't be afraid. This is a good time. I personally believe this is extremely similar to 1987. 1987, we had a massive 30% crash in the market in one day. Well, we can't have that now because we have what's called circuit breakers. So the circuit breakers will literally stop the stock market. We had many of them go off in March. And so now with that drop led us to, ready for this? The tech bubble. Okay. So from 1987 to 2000, we more or less went straight up.
Yeah.
Dude, I think we're about to do that, man. I think this was it. I think this was the pullback, and we're just going to start crushing it from here.
I definitely, again, hashtag not a financial advisor, way too broke to be giving advice and comments. But there's certain things that you do notice, like the market was running hot. It was bubbling, and then COVID came along, and so that took all those people that are like, I'm about to pull. So I had a number of people talk to me like, the market's so big, I think I'm going to pull back right now. And then the next thing like a week later, if they had done that, they were super smart, and then they could, put their money back into the market again. Right. So I think, we had this confluence of these two things, the pandemic and also just, the sell-off that was going to happen at some point.
Had to, man. It had to. Yeah. And I didn't think it was going to be this, right? Like I didn't think it'd be like a virus thing, but boom, it happened. And here we are. And now you have opportunities. So start taking advantage of them, guys. If you're listening to the podcast, listen to Pete. I mean, small, steady steps can win the race. You never know what type of investment can change your life, but you got to start. And if you do enough research, I had one lady ask me, like, how do you make millions in the market? The only way you can make millions is you're going to have to put in some serious money into it over time, but it's going to also have to be kind of focused and targeted on a particular company. So my answer would be, make sure you know this company inside and out. If you really, really like a company, make sure you know it extremely, extremely well. You do a lot of research. Make sure they're a large company. Make sure they're in an uptrend, like if you look at the monthly chart or the weekly chart. But make sure that you know exactly how they make money. You use their products all the time, and they're newer. Because if you put in, $100,000 in Netflix right now, it might be $200,000 in 2-3 years, 4 years maybe. But there's other companies out there like Zscaler, for example. They're another software as a service, like cloud type of company, and they've gone from 36 to 70 in the last month. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's incredible.
That's incredible. So when you're talking about a newer company, those are the ones that you make big money off of, are the newer, fresher companies that you do a lot of research on to make sure that you're right on it. And then you pull the plug and you get in. Roku, I'm a huge fan of Roku right now. I think Roku is an incredibly good buying opportunity, mostly because it had a massive pullback from its highs. Its all-time highs back in September were 170 and some change, Pete. It had a 65% drop down to $60, and now it's at 113. So on Roku, buy whatever pullback you want because their sales are phenomenal. Their growth is phenomenal. Their CEO is incredibly intelligent. You have a really easy business model. You have Roku TVs. I mean, this thing is ripe for a buyout from either Netflix or Apple or Disney. And if those companies don't buy out Roku, they're going to keep doing really well because everyone who are doing short-term rentals or office work from home type of things, Roku TVs are being bought left and right. You have Black Friday closer than you might think, actually. And man, I'm a fan of Roku right now. So I'd say buy the dip on Roku. Looks gorgeous out there to me, man.
Let's talk about your book, man. Money
Okay.
Grows on Trees, How to Reshape Your Thoughts, Beliefs, and Ideas. And I know we kind of have been talking about the topics, but let's get specifically into the book.
Sure.
Why you wrote it, what's in it.
Why I wrote it. I wrote it mostly because it came out on accident one day. I was talking to a client and he said, man, I love all your suggestions about how to pay off debt and how to become more wealthy. But he's like, money doesn't just grow on trees. And like out of my mouth, I said, like, of course it does. And he goes, what do you mean? And then my brain just started like, I don't know. I've never said that. So I started kind of like conjuring up excuses. But then the more I started thinking about it, the more I realized, but it does though. Like it actually, it literally does, in the sense of most currency is made out of paper, which is technically comes from trees anyway.
Right.
So theoretically trees are money. So not only does money grow on trees, but you spend every year for Christmas, you buy a tree with your money. It's like, how much more obvious is this? So it's the example of a lot of the things that we say in our life control our entire life and shape our future. Number one. And number two, most of the things that we believe about money, most of the things that you were taught about money are wrong. And if they scare you, and if you're afraid of them, if you're terrified about how your money might work or how much you might lose or how much you might do something wrong or incorrectly, there are paths, there are understandings, there are principles that you can take in life to simply become more wealthy. And a lot of it's going to start with your mind, because if your mind's not in the right place, your money won't be in the right place. If you want to grow your bank account, you have to grow your mind first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's that whole investing value. Like, how valuable are you to yourself?
Yeah.
That time you spend watching whatever it is, what if you took some of that time during the week and you read your book or read another book on investing or whatever it is?
Totally. I mean, exactly, man. I mean, it could be 5, 10, 20 minutes a day, or you just incrementally, slowly carve out, because you never know where it's going to lead you to. I'll give you the most random example of all time.
Yeah.
I'll make it pretty quick. I was training for something last year, and I ran into someone who had completed a 100-mile race.
Wow.
I was like, that's insane. You're an insane human being. It was a woman. I was like, that's amazing. Like, paradigm shift, man. I had never in my life met someone who'd done 100 miles and like shook their hand. Like she did 100-mile races. I was like, that's incredible. And so I started asking her questions and blah, 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 blah. And little did I know, she got me into a program where it's called 29029, where they climb the equivalent of Everest by hiking hills. And they do it as a team. I was like, oh, that's so crazy. So I was like, all right, let me go do that. That'd be a good start. So I do that, fly to this place, do the Everesting thing. And then I meet a few multimillionaires and a few billionaires at this event, because it's a really prestigious, like high-end event. Like the tickets are like pricey. And so then I start meeting these people. I was like, I would have never met those people who led to amazing connections for both work and business. Right. If I hadn't met this lady by going out on this run that I would never normally do. And it all kind of led, and now looking full circle, like I'm doing a challenge with the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, So it's like this craziest circle that kind of just starts happening. Eventually will get you to greatness. But the reason I was bringing that up is because that's the mentality of the whole money grows on trees. Like, you have to take steps to realize money is not going to be the problem at all. There's always some type of mental hurdle or physical hurdle that you can get over and get past once you realize all of your limiting beliefs. It's huge, man. It's a powerful concept.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't imagine you spend a lot of time worrying about who the president is or what he's doing a day to day in your life.
I don't.
Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, I don't. I'm one of the true blood Americans, man, where I'm like, I respect whoever our president is. I come from a military background. I'm not personally in the military at all. So for those of you who did serve, thank you for your service. But it's one of those things where our president, whoever our president's going to be, I'm going to respect that person, man or woman, black or white, whatever color they are. I'm going to respect them. I'm going to give my utmost respect. I'm going to do whatever I can. I may or may not agree or disagree with whatever they say or what they believe. But you have to respect the president. If you're here in the States, you've got to have some semblance where you go, yep, cool, get it. You're doing this thing. I'm going to do my absolute best to figure out how I can add the most value to other people and just be okay with whatever's going on. to some degree.
Yeah. You said before in an interview, I forget which podcast it was, when I was listening to some of your stuff, and just so many great thoughts, and you're quite quotable. And I guess because you read quotes a lot, you must develop a quote capacity.
Yeah.
But you talked about I think it was Mark Twain, and he gets a lot of things attributed to him. But the two most important days of your life are the day that you're born and the day you figure out why. Mm-hmm. And you said you figured out your why. Let's talk about that.
It was scary, man. It was a scary time. Marianne Williamson was quoted by saying, like, we don't fear. It's not our fear of failure that holds us back. It's our fear that we're successful beyond all measure. Like, that still gives me chills, man, because it's like, it's absolutely 100% true in my life. Right. I'm not afraid of failure. I know exactly what failure feels like. I know what being poor feels like. I know what you're eating. I know what you're wearing. I know what I'm living in. I know where I'm living. I know all those things. Okay. But every day for me to be an exceptionally rich, wealthy person, not financially, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, and also financially, that is always scary, because we've never, or people have never been there for a long period of time. The vast majority of us have never made it to that level where we can look around and go, man, I've got this. So one of the things that happened to me is I randomly stumbled upon that path that could lead me to that opportunity where I'm 100% financially free right now. And I can do anything that I want to do at any time. If it's a private jet, if it's Fiji, if it's Aruba, if it's Bali, I can do all of that whenever. And it's the craziest thing in the world to me that is actually occurring in my life. So what I did is I just did a lot of contemplation, and I spent a lot of time working with people way smarter, way wealthier, way richer than I am in all facets. And I started developing, why am I here on this earth? And my mission is to enrich lives with mentally liberating education. So mentally liberating means we take our current beliefs and we just change them. I'm really good at putting people out of their comfort zone. I'm really good at making people uncomfortable, scared, terrified, and afraid. And they do these small acts that they don't think would shape their life. One of my friends, who's a very, very wealthy gentleman, he sold a big company to a even bigger company. He was not the most generous person with his money. Like, he would tip, but 10%, 15%. He just kind of lived in that mentality of, if he got a 20% tip, it was like, wow, you did phenomenal. So I made him one day tip $200.
What? Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got it, dude. Like, not even like $200 to him is like 25 cents. Like, he's got it. And it was so funny to ask him, like, why would I do that? He said, the service wasn't even that great. I'm like, dude, the service is irrelevant. What you're going to do is you're going to put this into your world, and it's going to shake the very core of your beliefs and your systems and your approaches. And you're going to remember this day forever. Yeah. And so he did it, felt great about it. The lady who received the tip almost started crying. He was happy. I was happy. Everyone was happy. So it was a good moment. And so now, full circle, what happened like 3 or 4 months later is a random person reaches out to him with a commercial real estate deal. Now, I'm not saying that commercial real estate deal had any ties to what he did with the $200, but it definitely didn't not have any ties. Right. Yeah. In the sense that it could have. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But bottom line is, those are the things that we have to do. Those are the mentally liberating steps that we have to take. And that's my why, man. I'm really, really excited that I am on this path where I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, at least for now. If that's ever going to change, brilliant. And at some point it may. But I think I have a gift of turning really complex situations that seem impossible, that seem massively difficult, into easy situations. I'll give you one last example. I got challenged by one of my mentors to do the calendar club. So the calendar club is insane. I think only like 300,000 people have ever done it ever. But it's pretty much where you run or walk or jog the mile of the month every day for a month.
Wow. Okay.
So the reason I'm on this treadmill right now, man, is it's the 15th of the month. I got to get 15 miles in today. I got 14 in yesterday. I got 13. I've done 3 half marathons in the last 3 days. Yeah. Tomorrow I got to do 16 and then 17. Like, it's insane. Yeah. But initially anyone in the world hears that goes, first of all, that's stupid. Second of all, that's dumb. You're going to hurt yourself. 3, that's almost impossible. 4, that's going to require so much time. No one in the world has that amount of time. I thought all 4 of those things to be true.
Yeah.
So I got pushed by my mentor and I sat down and I go, okay, what if I walk? What if I just walk 2 miles an hour on a stupid treadmill right now? If I walk 2 miles an hour, it would only take me 15 hours to walk 30 miles, which is the last day of the month.
Right.
Now, 15 hours
God,
is
there's not 45 days in September.
Bro, tell me about it. So it's like, okay, 2 miles an hour for 15 hours doesn't seem as impossible anymore, although 15 hours is a long time.
Right.
What if I am able to run 7 miles and then I walk a lot and then I run 4 miles and then I walk a lot? Could I get that done in the span of like 10 hours? And you start just slowly chunking it down and then you start putting it around your day. It's absolutely crazily, insanely achievable to do anything that way.
Right.
Anything. So the guy who challenged me, he is married to the woman who invented Spanx.
Oh,
so
nice.
she's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
He's very well off, well before they kind of met, and they have kids, they have businesses, they have the whole thing, but he still carves out like 6 hours a day to do this stupid ass thing that we're doing. And I'm like, it's incredible. So the reason I'm bringing that up, a lot of people will have those beliefs of there's no way I can do this. But if you carve out and figure out mathematically how to do it, you'll actually come up with the answer that most things are not as impossible as they initially seem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like making $10,000 a day. You know, like making $10,000 a day. Initially, a lot of your listeners are going to go, no way. No way that could ever happen. That's impossible. That's literally impossible. So, okay, cool. How much do you make now per day? And let's start working backwards and let's figure out how many streams of income and how many units you need to sell or create or prepare, right? You're not going to do it initially. Absolutely. I mean, without question, you're not going to do $10,000 a day right now. If you do like, let's say $400 a day.
Right.
It's not going to happen next week or next month, but in 2, 3, 4 years, it could. It is actually possible. So now we just have to figure out how.
Yeah. You've said a couple of times you've put really smart people around yourself and you learn from them and everything else that, you know, and that's always putting them first. But I want you to put the lens on you.
Okay.
Why are you so successful? Why are you so good? You know, I get it, good people around you, but what's your thing?
Dang, man. That's a really good question. Thank you for asking. I think, you know, Pete, honestly, man, I do care about people. I really do genuinely. I love people and I love to see their success. And as crazy as that sounds, that is a pro and a con, because one of the reasons it's a con is I trust people way too easily. I let people walk over me way too easily. I have a really hard time of saying no to things. So those are some of the cons of loving people and loving to see their success. I don't know exactly why I am the way I am. I've almost always been this way to my collective consciousness, where I just go, I see a problem and I want to fix it. And that's been very bad in relationships because I will go and try to fix someone who either needs to be fixed or is broken or doesn't need to be fixing at all. And I think I need to fix them. So it's not the greatest for relationships. So I'm working on that. I can understand that. That's now in my frame of reference. But man, for me, I just really like helping people. And what I've realized is if I go, hey, listen, don't worry about money right now. How can I help you?
Yeah.
Don't even pretend it's 100% free. Everything in life is free. You don't have to pay for anything. How can I help you, or how can anyone help you? And let's figure out how we can do that together. If you approach life from that way, man, you'll figure out that people don't care about buying things. They just don't want to be sold. Yeah. You know, people are okay with spending time or money to do something. It's just, what are they going to be doing? That's the big question.
Yeah. Right. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's a great chat. And it's always just it's great to recenter our brains when there's so much uncertainty right now, especially. And just getting a chance to go, you know what? I can 1 hour at a time this. And heck, that's how, that's how musicians get there. You know, every musician we've talked to, and we're talking high level musicians, they've all said things like, I wasn't the best guy in my peer group. at playing the whatever or singing the whatever.
Yeah.
They're just motherfuckers. They won't quit. You know?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
And they're
it.
like, I just kept going. I just kept going. And when the opportunities came to do something else, I just kept going. And they got there. They didn't get there in one day. They got there over a lifetime, years of work. And so the same approach applies to everything.
Same approach, man. Like Rascal Flatts, they're really big in Nashville. Obviously, they're huge all around the world. But in Nashville, everyone kind of knows their story. I mean, they were absolute dog shit like 2 decades ago. And people would just make fun of them, and their shows were terrible, and they were just awful. But they just kept grinding it out, man. You know, slowly but surely, I'm there. And they go, what can I do a little bit better today than I did yesterday as far as my singing? And they focus on singing, and then stage presence, and then guitars, and then shows, and then lights.
Yeah.
All of those things, we could always tweak small aspects of ourselves in any way. And when we do that, we're only going to become better.
His book is called Money Grows on Trees, How to Reshape Your Thoughts, Beliefs, and Ideals About Money and Becoming Truly Wealthy. Get it at Amazon. Use our link. That helps us out. For sure, though, the main thing is if you're going to buy the book, and I'm going to start reading it, I think, tomorrow when I finish my next book up. So I'll be getting it on Audible. If you buy it, go on Amazon, rate and review. Give it 5 stars. Give her any kind of review at all, because this is what this does for Jerremy. It bumps his book up in the search, helps him compete with the millions and millions of other books. And it's just a way to exchange some value. He's put a lot of time and effort and thought into this thing, and I know you're going to get something out of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have him on the show. And I love what you're doing, man. I love it. I'm inspired. I'm going to go get my treadmill and move it into the office.
Bring it on, dude.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that, man. So much. Thank you, honestly, for taking your time, because you spent an hour doing this and more on the back end and more on the front end.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate you as well, Pete. Thank you, man, for having me.
Cool. Thanks, man.
You got it, brother.